In 1940, a 28-year-old Australian woman named Nancy Wake was living in Marseille, France. Not hiding, not resisting, living beautifully. She had a wealthy French husband named Henri Fiacca who adored her completely. A stunning apartment, a social life that involved parties and champagne and the specific comfortable glamour of someone who had worked hard to build a life that looked exactly like this. She wore expensive clothes. She threw dinner parties. She laughed loudly and often, in the specific way of someone who has decided that life is for enjoying and intends to enjoy it as thoroughly as possible. The Germans had just occupied France. And Nancy Wake, looking at the occupation, looking at what the Nazis were doing to the people around her, looking at the fear on the faces of her neighbors and her friends, made a decision. Not dramatically, not with a speech, over a glass of wine probably. She decided she was going to make the German army's life as difficult as she possibly could. What followed was 3 years of the most audacious, relentless and comprehensively successful campaign of resistance, deception, and outright defiance that any individual ran against the Nazi occupation of France. The Gestapo assigned their best agents to find her. They gave her a nickname, the White Mouse, because every time they set a trap, she was already gone. They put a 5 million franc bounty on her head. She was the most wanted person in France. They never caught her. The question this story asks is not how Nancy Wake survived. The question is what kind of person looks at the most powerful military force in Europe and decides to personally ruin their week, every week, for 3 years, and whether you have ever had the specific audacity to be that person. Welcome to Untold Archive, the channel that finds the stories of warriors, survivors, and underdogs who faced impossible situations and extracts every lesson they left behind. Today, Nancy Wake, the Australian woman who became the Gestapo's most wanted person in France, who the Nazis called the White Mouse because she kept slipping through every trap they set, who was the most decorated Allied woman of the Second World War, and whose name most people have never heard. That changes today. Stay with this video until the midpoint. Because there is one moment in this story, one sentence Nancy Wake said that contains the most useful philosophy I have ever found in the Untold Archive collection. 7 words. That will change the way you think about every hard thing you are currently facing. Stay for that. Let's go. Number 1. The woman before the war. Before Nancy Wake became a legend, she was just a stubborn kid from Wellington, New Zealand, the youngest of 6. Her father left when she was small and never came back, the kind of wound that either breaks a person or forges them into someone who never expects help from anyone. Nancy became the second kind. At 16, she ran off, worked as a nurse, saved her money, and made her way to London and then Paris. There she became a journalist, bold, blunt, unwilling to soften a story to make it comfortable. She interviewed Hitler in the early 1930s and watched firsthand what the Nazis were doing to Jewish communities in Germany and Austria. She wrote it plainly. Something in her hardened for good. She settled in Marseille, married a wealthy industrialist named Henri Fiacca, and built a glamorous life. Then the Germans invaded France, and Nancy Wake decided she hadn't come this far just to watch. Number 2. The White Mouse. Her resistance work started small, one favor, then another. She helped Jewish refugees and stranded Allied soldiers escape occupied France, using her money, her connections, and her considerable charm to slide through German checkpoints like she had nothing to hide. She joined the Pat O'Leary escape line, guiding men over the Pyrenees into Spain. A freezing, illegal, and deadly route she crossed herself more than once, carrying documents that could have gotten her shot on sight. The Gestapo noticed. They set traps. She slipped every one. They nicknamed her the White Mouse because she kept vanishing right when they thought they had her. Eventually, they put 5 million francs on her head, the largest bounty on any individual in occupied France. When she heard about it, she wasn't scared. She was delighted. It meant she was winning. Number 3. The escape. By 1943, the net was closing not from her mistakes, but because the network around her had been infiltrated. She had to leave France immediately, and Henry couldn't come yet. They said goodbye not knowing if it was final. Her escape over the Pyrenees took several failed attempts. She was arrested twice and talked her way out both times, calm as ever. She finally reached Spain, then Britain, where the Special Operations Executive had been watching her work for years. They didn't want another courier. They wanted a leader. She said yes before they finished the offer. Number 4, the midpoint beat, 500 kilometers. In 1944, she parachuted back into France, landing in the Auvergne to take command of a Maquis resistance force, roughly 7,000 fighters, now taking orders from a 32-year-old Australian woman who dropped out of the night sky. She trained them, armed them, and coordinated raids and supply drops that made German life in the region miserable. Then disaster. The radio codes were lost. Without them, London couldn't be reached, supplies couldn't be requested, and the whole operation would go dark. So Nancy Wake got on a bicycle and rode 500 kilometers through occupied France, through checkpoints, through patrols, with a bounty on her head to retrieve replacement codes from another network. She made it. She came back. The operation kept running. Asked about it later, she said simply, "I was so exhausted I couldn't stand up, but it had to be done, so I did it." 7 words, the whole philosophy of her life. Number 5, what she did and what she was. The bicycle ride wasn't even the most extreme thing she did. During a raid, she killed an SS sentry with her bare hands rather than let him raise the alarm, and spoke about it afterward with the same plain, unflinching honesty she brought to everything. She commanded thousands of men through some of the most dangerous resistance fighting in France, and somehow never lost her sense of humor doing it. Everyone who knew her mentioned that first. Through the fear and the danger, she stayed funny on principle. The Germans could occupy her country and hunt her down, but they didn't get to take that from her. Number 6, what Nancy Wake teaches us. Lesson 1, wear the name they give you. They called her the White Mouse out of frustration. She wore it as a badge. Whatever the opposition calls you to describe their failure to stop you, own it. Lesson 2, charm is a tool. She walked through checkpoints like she had nothing to hide. Confidence isn't just a feeling, it's something you build on purpose and use precisely. Lesson 3, it had to be done, so she did it. No waiting to feel ready, no asking permission. Just identifying the task and doing it. That's the whole framework. Lesson 4, they don't get your humor. Through years of danger, she stayed lighthearted deliberately. Whatever is occupying your life right now doesn't get to take that from you either. Lesson 5, she was never caught because she never stopped moving. Not luck, not magic, just constant motion, always one step past the closing trap. Nancy Wake died in 2011, age 98, having outlasted nearly everyone who tried to stop her, and every reason the world gave her to be smaller than she was. The Gestapo never caught the White Mouse. She simply never stopped moving and never changed her mind.